Welcome everyone to the next module. For week 5 or module 5, you're going to be reading chapter 6, completing discussion board number 3, and submitting assignment number 2. Now, when you submit your assignment, you go to weekly assignments, you click on week 5, and then you're going to see the assignment there. That's where you're going to attach your paper and you're going to upload it. Make sure when you upload it that it goes through, and you always want to check to make sure that document's there, because some people forget to attach it sometimes. For this week, we're going to look at linear regressions. Now, a linear regression is looking at, we're going to have multiple variables in this. So what type of relationship does X and Y have, the dependent, independent variables have? You're going to notice that the key thing we're going to look at is the omitted variable bias. And you'll notice that a lot of people will omit variables on purpose, not knowing that that variable actually helps or leads to more findings. And a lot of people do it because they think it helps the model, but in actuality it doesn't help the model at all. So really focus on how the omission of variables, it could raise your R squared, the quality of the model, but in theory it's not going to help the model at all. It's going to actually make your model have a bias, so that's key to look at. So let me look at some test score examples. Say English, let's say we look at English language ability, whether the student has English as a second language. Plausible effect standardized score. Z is a determinant of Y. So if you have 1, it's going to determine the score of Y. Now, let's say immigrant communities tend to be less affluent and thus have smaller school budgets and higher scores. So Z is correlated with X. So that means if Z would be correlated with Y in one, then Z is correlated with X in the other. So X and Y should all correlate together. That's not true. That's a common fallacy that you might see. So you'll find that a lot of people will omit these variables to make these analyses. And that's important not to do. Because when you're looking at multiple linear regression, multiple really attempts to model the relationship between two or more explanatory variables and a response variable by fitting a linear equation to observed data. Every value of the independent variable X is associated with some value of the dependent variable Y. The population line gives you a lot of analysis, but this population, we're only looking at a sample set in that analysis. You could do multiple linear regression. I remember when I was in school, we did a regression on housing prices and how to determine housing prices. What are factors that would determine housing prices? Pool, does it have a pool, does it have a garage, how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms, that kind of thing. And what you'd find is people would start to take out certain things that they didn't think were important in the analysis, and it actually brought about a weaker relationship in terms of the way to predict home prices, but the R square would be more effective. So make sure to really look at that omitted variable and what's going to be influenced by that. Make sure also to have all your work submitted on time by Saturday night at 11 o'clock. And in your initial post in the discussion board, make sure to have 2 peer responses, which can be to any of my questions or your peers, an initial post that needs to have an in-text citation and reference and APA formatting to support your work. And if you have any other questions, just let me know, but I look forward to your effort this week.